Honorable members, let us pray. Guide, we beseech thee, Almighty God, members of this House, that we may wisely deliberate for the good of the country and for the glory of thy holy name. Please join with me as we say together the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Pray, be seated. Honorable members, this honorable House is now in session.
Item number 3, oath of allegiance or affirmation of a new member. Item number 4, confirmation of minutes.
Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Speaker, I beg to move that the minutes of the proceedings of the sitting of the House of Representatives held at the Parliament Chamber, Mount Weldale, St. George's, on Tuesday, 16th April 2019, be taken as read.
Honorable members, the question is that the minutes of the proceeding of the House of Representatives held at the Parliament Chamber, Mount Weldale, St. George's, on Tuesday, the 16th April 2019, be taken as read. Those who have that opinion, say aye. Of the contrary opinion, say no. The ayes have it. Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the said minutes of the proceeding of the sitting of the House of Representatives held at the Parliament Chamber, Mount Weldale, St. George's, on Tuesday, 16th April 2019, be confirmed.
Honorable members, the question is that the said minutes be confirmed. Those who have that opinion say aye. Of the contrary opinion say nay. Think the ayes have it? The ayes have it.
Item number 5, messages from the Governor General. Item number 6, announcements by Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable members, I have been informed that the Honorable Kate Lewis will be absent from today's sitting. Also, that the Honorable Member for St. Andrew Northeast will be absent today. The Honorable Member for St. George Northwest would also be absent today.
Item number 7, presentation of petitions. Item number 8, presentation of papers and reports from Select Committee.
Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the following paper be laid on the table. Report of the Director of Audit, Grenada, on the financial statements of the T.A. Marichaud Community College, TAMCC, for the year ended 31st December 2017.
Honorable members, the report of the Director of Audit, Grenada, on the financial statement of the T.A. Marichaud Community College is now laid at the table.
Item number 9, unopposed private business. Item number 10, questions. Item number 11, urgent questions under the provisions of Standing Order number 21. Item number 12, statements by ministers.
Honorable Representative for Carriacou and Peter Martinique, and Minister for Legal Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I just want to take this brief opportunity this morning to say congratulations and, of course, thank the executive and other members of the Carriacou Maroon Festival Committee and, of course, the Carriacou and Petite Martinique Festivals Board for the successful staging of yet another Carriacou Maroon Festival 2019. Mr. Speaker, our culture during the days of the 26th to the 28th of April won full display to the world. It was, in fact, Mr. Speaker, a very memorable experience. And, of course, our preliminary reports, Mr. Speaker, indicates that we saw an increase in the number of visitors visiting our lovely islands of Carriacou and Petite Martinique during the period, and, of course, also an increase in the number of persons participating in that all-important festivals. Mr. Speaker, I can say that planning for next year's festival has started in earnest, and of course we are looking forward to a bigger and better festival next year, God's will. Up next, Mr. Speaker, of course, is the Petite Martinique Whitsuntide Regatta Festival, which festivals, Mr. Speaker, is to run from June 7th to the 10th. And so, Mr. Speaker, I just want to take this opportunity to just extend an invitation to all to visit Petite Martinique during this important period to witness a spectacle put on by the people of Petite Martinique. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister for Legal Affairs and Carriacou and Petite Martinique Affairs. Honorable Representative for St. Andrew Northwest, Minister for Social Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, please permit me to update this Honorable House on two important issues. Education, Mr. Speaker, is an elemental human right, and it is essential for all other human rights. It is a powerful tool by which socially and economically marginalized children can lift themselves out of poverty. It also consists of the right to freedom of education for all. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, the Program for Adolescent Mothers, PAM, is one agency within our tri-island state that provides education for teenage mothers. Mr. Speaker, in recent times, in the news, we have been hearing that there are some issues at PAM, some issues that can affect the performances of the teenage mothers. Mr. Speaker, while PAM is an NGO, government provides $240,000 per year, plus the provision of teachers for the program for adolescent mothers. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, we cannot sit idly by while the children's life is at stake at present, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, as a government, we are committed to providing education for those children. And while the issue within PAM is now at the court, and there seem to be many issues with members of the board, we, as a government, cannot tell the board what to do since it's an NGO. However, we can put plans and programs in place, and we can work together to see how, while all this thing is drawn out in the public, we protect those girls. And therefore, we will be asking for legal guidance from the Ministry of Legal Affairs in how we can protect those vulnerable girls who are now suffering because of the issues that is at PAM. We have asked, based on the allegation by one side, we have asked the audit to do some investigation for us, but we realize that there are serious issues there, and we will do what it takes as a government to protect the vulnerable girls, to ensure that they can get an education so that they can be lifted out of poverty. On May 15th is celebrated as International Family Day. This year the theme is Family Matters. Step up your parenting game. So this year the theme is asking parents to step up their game in taking care of their children. This year activity will be celebrated in St. Andrew's Telescope on Sunday the 19th, where we will have a family fun day and with gamers. There will also be a health year with the Ministry of Health and the Grenada Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. We are inviting families to come out there and celebrate with your family. Let us celebrate our mothers, celebrate our fathers, celebrate our boys, and celebrate our girls. Let us work together to build strong families. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Representative for St. Andrew Northwest. Honourable Representative for St. Andrew Southwest.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am very pleased this morning to update this Honourable House on programs and activities of the Ministry of Agriculture since my last presentation here. Mr. Speaker, I wish to assure this Honourable House that the agriculture sector can and will be the most viable sector, but this can only happen when the issue of Priti Alasni is put to rest. Considering this, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry has embarked on an aggressive pursuit with the Royal Grenada Police Force in resuscitating efforts in curbing this issue. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to report today that the Priti Alasni Multi-Sectorial Advisory Body has been reactivated. The Ministry of Legal Affairs has offered the necessary support with respect to the revised Act, and as such, I am very optimistic of having such adjustments, such amendments presented before this Honourable House during this first quarter. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry will institute a pilot for the installation of cameras on farmers' farms. We have started the project, we are ordering the cameras, and they are well on the way. This, we believe, Mr. Speaker, will reduce the incidences of Priti Alasni significantly. Also, Mr. Speaker, this Honourable House would recall that during my budget presentation, mention was made of the Marabou station being developed as one of the flagship stations of the Ministry of Agriculture. Mr. Speaker, under the UNDP JCCP project, we just witnessed the completion of 2 greenhouses, 43 meters by 29 meters, which will be used to resuscitate the citrus industry. One of the greenhouses, Mr. Speaker, will be used as a germplasm for citrus, and the other as a citrus nursery as we continue in the fight against the dreaded citrus greening disease. Mr. Speaker, this is indeed great news, having not able to propagate citrus for over the past 2 years. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry is finalizing its plan for the annual farm labour program and plant distribution. These programs are planned for mid-June to mid-July. Mr. Speaker, this year's plant distribution will see heavy emphasis being placed on soursop and avocados. Unfortunately, citrus will not be available for distribution this year. While we are aware of demands for citrus, the decision is taken to avoid the spreading of the citrus greening disease. And those 2 greenhouses that that is already installed at Marabou will deal with the matter of clean planting material, etc. In this regard, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry is encouraging farmers to cultivate guavas as an alternative, which is also an excellent source of vitamin C. Mr. Speaker, the government remains committed to providing support to the nation's farmers, notwithstanding the value of the farm labour program. Each year, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry tries to improve and enhance the delivery of such a program. It's a very difficult program because all farmers want to be involved in the program, and that is an impossibility at this point in time. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry recognizes that many of the beneficiaries of this program leave their farms abandoned for an entire year and return to the Ministry for farm labour support each year. This cannot happen. We cannot continue that. This practice requires the ministry to hold farmers accountable for the support received. And in this regard, Mr. Speaker, all farmers receiving such support this year will be required to enter into a contract with the government of Grenada through the Ministry of Agriculture. If we don't get serious about these programs, Mr. Speaker, we won't get anything out of it. Farmers with even less than a quarter of an acre comes to the ministry for support, and they are not working there. They are home and so. So we have to straighten out this program. We have to put our focus, which is soursop and avocados and other things on the farm. We have to make sure that these farms develop and they develop properly. Mr. Speaker, after some delay, I'm pleased to say that the AgriCom project is finally moving into full implementation. As of April 30th, 2019, the full complement of staff is in place, and the project office is equipped and functioning. The project started the sensitization process with the execution of an agribusiness roundtable program discussion. This event brought together stakeholders from the agriculture, financial, hotel, and restaurant and retail sectors. The objective of the agribusiness roundtable was to present the AgriCom project and establish opportunities for network between stakeholders under the theme building competitiveness in the agriculture sector through the productive alliances. And I must say, Mr. Speaker, that was an excellent roundtable discussion for moving the sector forward through the program. The project implementation unit, Mr. Speaker, will intensify the project sensitization effort over the next few weeks. The project implementation unit is now doing all the preparatory work for the issuing of the call of proposals on around the 15th of May of this year. Mr. Speaker, SIAP is moving very soundly, and things are moving with that project. The units, the extension officers are in place, assistants are in place, and they have completed a 2 weeks orientation and are placed in the various agricultural districts so that they can engage the farmers. Mr. Speaker, I can say much more, but I just want to highlight the partnering of the ministry with Arise Credit Union. They have partnered with us to develop some training programs, and I want to say how very pleased we are. We had a very successful training program in the Northern District, and we continue to work along with them. So I want to give them some kudos for partnering us, Arise Credit Union, and it was a very successful training program with young people in agriculture. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister for Agriculture and Member for St. Andrew Northwest. Honourable Representative for St. Patrick East and Minister in the Ministry of Education.
Mr. Speaker, good morning, and everyone else here today. Permit me to share from the Ministry of Education in our tertiary education department on what has been happening in the area of scholarships. Mr. Speaker, thus far for this year, and we're not even halfway through the year, 73 scholarships have been awarded by the government of Grenada in collaboration with St. George's University. Yes, Mr. Speaker. Is that better? Okay, thank you so much. Yes, Mr. Right, so thus far, 73 scholarships has been awarded from SGU in collaboration with our government. In the area of arts and sciences, we have a total of 41 scholarships, 11 of which went to nursing, and 30 went to the regular arts and sciences programs. This, Mr. Speaker, is valued at a total of US $2 million. Our medical scholarships, 32 in all, with 24 going to pure medicine, 5 to pre-medicine, and 2 to masters in public health, 1 to veterinary. Mr. Speaker, this again has a value of US $6.5 million. 6 scholarships have been awarded to our island schools at a value of EC $1.2 million by our government of Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique to the outstanding performers in the 2019 CSEC examination in the field of natural science, social sciences, humanities, technical vocational education, and information technology. We've had some collaboration with the Grenada Houston Association. They have given 7 bursaries at a total value of US $500 each to outstanding students at various secondary schools throughout the island and the T.A. Marichaud Community College. Finally, Mr. Speaker, with the limited time, let me just mention briefly about TAMCC restructuring. I just want to let this Honorable House know that this initiative continues with a CDB-funded consultancy that's undertaken by the Otter Lockjack Global School of Business at the University of the West Indies. They've been in and out of Grenada over the last year or so, and they were here up to 2 weeks ago, observing all that is going on at the institution. Mr. Speaker, the overall objective of that consultancy is to provide the T.A. Marichaud Community College with a gender-responsive and socially inclusive action plan that will enhance its capacity to undertake its role as an exemplary national tertiary institution in the 21st century. Mr. Speaker, this is valued at US $500,000. And the action plan will include improvements in the finance and resource mobilization plan for TAMCC, improvement in students' service for the institution, a gender action plan, environment and social management plan, and finally, Mr. Speaker, a physical development plan that is going to cost this government millions of dollars. The consultation is not yet completed, but Mr. Speaker, you can imagine how much it will cost this government to improve the whole structure of TAMCC, to improve the structure of all the 3 campuses throughout the island. So our government has undertaken this project, and the funds from this will be as a loan from the Grenada Development Bank. And I just want to end by thanking all who've been involved in the improvement of the institution. And just note that our country will continue to collaborate with everyone and all who are willing to do so. And we will continue to invest in our premier, for a premier tertiary institution. We'll continue to invest in TAMCC. And as a government, we're committed to doing so. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Parliamentary Representative and Minister in the Ministry of Education. Honorable Representative for St. Andrew Southeast and Minister for Education.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise this morning just to make mention of a couple of things as it relates to the ministry and to give a couple updates on matters that I think are relevant. The first one, Mr. Speaker, has to do with the St. Andrew's Methodist School. As you know, school reopened on Monday, and we had to take a very tough decision not to reopen that school. And so classes have been suspended generally, with the exception of grade 6. And that has to do, although publicly most people are aware, the collapse of the structure that accommodated a water tank in the schoolyard. And so there are some other issues structurally in the building that we felt it was necessary to protect the children and not have them go back to school until we are very sure that the engineers are satisfied that the school is in a state that the children can all be accommodated, because as you know, that school is one of our largest primary schools in that area. So, Mr. Speaker, where we are, the Ministry of Works, the engineer, engineers. The team went to that school, the assessment was done, the report submitted, the scope of works is completed as well, and we are looking at a plan of action to ensure that in the shortest possible time frame, we can have the students back at that school. Very important, the preparation for CPEA is not being affected as the students are accommodated in a wooden building that was used for another class. We've shifted that class, of course, out, and the CPA students are now accommodated there. Constantine School, which has also been publicly referred to, there was some questions as it relates to mold in that school. We brought in the experts from the Ministry of Health. The concerns are not as wide and detailed as those expressed publicly, and so the official report would have guided us as to what is needed in terms of action. But Constantine School, as I said before, because of the humidity in that area, most of us know is very similar to the Granitang area. What would happen if we have a school in Granitang? Because of the humidity, there are always challenges there. We want to thank St. George Northwest. Their team, the environmental warden, was very helpful. They went in and they would have done some trimming and cutting and drainage and so on to assist, to ensure that the water is managed in a way that we don't have the level of humidity within the classroom area. Professional cleaners also were engaged, and that process continues. There's a particular classroom of concern and a particular area, so they are doing some professional cleaning, remove any doubts in persons' minds, despite what Ministry of Health has confirmed. We've brought in the Bureau of Standards, they've done their official checks. The report shows that is not as was indicated, but again, we want to satisfy persons mentally and otherwise, so we've gone even beyond what we were asked to do. Mr. Speaker, I want to also mention, not in detail, that we continue to work on some of the schools we've mentioned before in terms of upgrade, in terms of expansion. A detailed report will follow soon. In terms of the marking of SBAs, Mr. Speaker, that has been in the public domain for some time. Some time ago, we had a call from the Grenada Union of Teachers asking teachers not to mark SBAs. Fortunately, by that time that the call came, most of the SBAs were already marked, so the question was really about entering the scores. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to say, as I've said before, at the time of the call, we had probably about 3 schools that did not enter scores, and I did indicate publicly before that all schools went on to enter scores and the process continues. We want to wish our students all the best in this year's exam under the circumstances that they face. In light of all of this, we thought it was necessary proactively to engage CXC. And so the head of CXC is currently in Grenada on a 3-day visit. Very, very successful yesterday, his engagement with teachers. Feedback extremely positive. The feedback that I've got is, we are very, very happy for this. We've learned a lot. Things we should have known, we probably did not know. As a matter of fact, one teacher said to me, she felt really bad when she was directed to the CXC website for some information that has been there for years that she was not aware of. So, Mr. Speaker, the team went to meet with parents yesterday, a group of parents, and again, the feedback from parents extremely positive, which tells me that sometimes the problem is information. That we need to inform people more, we need to educate people more, we need to make sure that people are aware more of things that probably they should be aware of. And I want to make mention of a point that came out yesterday in the session with teachers, very critical, that SBAs are not meant to be a final exam. And sometimes you listen to persons and you get the impression that an SBA is an activity that a student has a one-shot at. And that is totally against the intention and the reason why SBAs were introduced in the first place. SBAs were introduced to give the children all the possible opportunities to develop their skills. And so sometimes one particular skill, the child may get 3 different opportunities to improve on that particular skill. And so we have to make sure that we work with our teachers. And I believe the Ministry of Education has a lot of blame to take as it relates to that. And I'm forced to say this, because we ought to be doing far more supervision and monitoring of what is happening in our classroom. Because if a child is starting an SBA 2 weeks before the deadline, something is fundamentally wrong somewhere. And so it means that we have to take responsibility, we have to accept responsibility, and it cannot be business as usual as it relates to our officers who are supposed to be monitoring what is happening in our classroom. Mr. Speaker, as I'm saying this, at this time, CXC should be meeting with officials at the Ministry of Education. So we're not just doing teachers, parents, our ministry officials must also hear the message. And they must also be reminded of what their role is in this process. I want to also quickly mention at this time today, we have a team that is in Antigua. Unfortunately, because of this sitting, the clerk is not able to be there in another capacity. But, Mr. Speaker, this visit is extremely important, and that's why I'm mentioning it. We've been speaking a lot about laptops for every child. And sometimes it's thrown at you politically, and I always respond that if I knew then what I know now, I would have discouraged our political organization from that commitment. Because you see, Mr. Speaker, it's not really just about providing a child with a laptop. It's so much more than a laptop. If you are not a laptop, but a tablet is what we said then. As a matter of fact, most of our children in Grenada already have a tablet anyway, and they probably have more than one, and more than just a tablet. So the question has to be, how do you ensure that there's a platform, not just a tablet, a platform that caters for the development of students and support of teachers in a holistic way? And that is the focus of this government. So we're not contained and we're not focused too much on a tablet for children. We're looking at a broader picture. So, yes, a child can have a tablet. And we've learned from the countries who have said, please don't go there. You probably heard us announce, you probably saw us did it. But the disaster that we ended up with, please don't go there. So we have been examining what is the best route. And we prefer to not deliver on that promise to make sure that we end up in a place where we are all better off because of what we introduce. So right now, that team is in Antigua because Antigua has introduced a platform for learning that we believe it's a model. Other countries have gone on, the BVI has gone on to adopt. Trinidad is now looking at adopting. St. Lucia has gone on, and we believe it's right time for us to do so. But, Mr. Speaker, we've started the process here in terms of platform with the MGRM project. And, Mr. Speaker, the benefits, currently we are training principals, we are training teachers, because that's another thing. Having tablets without proper training of teachers, without a content for that tablet, it's useless. So we are working on content, we are working on connectivity, that's another important pillar. We are working on training, and we are working on the right device, the right platform to facilitate what we want to achieve. So it's not really about what, but it's about the end product. What do you want to achieve? Finally, Mr. Speaker, about 2 weeks ago, I had the opportunity to speak at the Grenada Union of Teachers annual conference. And one of the things that I did during my presentation was to congratulate the new executive and to remind them that 1 year ago, I extended an invitation to meet monthly with the executive of the Grenada Union of Teachers. I'm happy to say that the new executive has accepted. And so I received a call requesting that we have a meeting which takes place today. And I'm extremely happy about that. And again, want to extend best wishes to the new executive. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister for Education. Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs. Sorry, Honorable Minister for Tourism.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to inform this Honorable House, and by so doing, inform the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique of just one issue that is being taken up under the Ministry of Tourism. There are many, but in the interest of time, I would just confine myself to the issue of airlift, which of course involves LIAT. And I am very much aware that Grenadians all got a scare in recent times when an utterance was made that LIAT was going to sell some planes and that LIAT was going to shut down its services. And while this in and of itself was not good news, I think it made us all aware of the importance that LIAT plays in our being able to move within the region and even outside of the region. Mr. Speaker, we've had several meetings with LIAT. As a matter of fact, a few days ago, last Friday, 2 members of the management of LIAT came down to meet with a team from the Airlift Committee, and we had discussions as to how we could look, what is the way forward for LIAT, because obviously LIAT is in very serious financial situation crisis, and a few weeks ago they sent out an SOS to all member states to put an immediate injection of finances into LIAT, otherwise it could not operate. I am pleased to say that our Prime Minister and Minister for Finance recognized the importance of that and the urgency of it and contributed $1.3 million to the cause. Now, some people were happy, some people were not. Some people could think of a lot of other things $1.3 million can do. I can sit here and think of a number of things I have on my list for St. Mark, for example, and I'm sure everywhere has similar things. But, Mr. Speaker, reason is very important. And I just want to take this opportunity through you. I want to beg your indulgence to just read a little bit of statistics on Grenada only. Flights that take people from Grenada or from other destinations within the Caribbean to Grenada. And this doesn't take us to further afield like the United States, because some people do connecting flights through Barbados to the US when they cannot get local flights. Some people do connecting flights to UK through Barbados as well. But the number of passengers for arriving through LIAT to Grenada in 2018 was 44,333 persons. 44,000 people, 44,333 persons arrived. And between arrivals and departure, LIAT accounted for 91,537 persons. So $1.3 million, when you look at 91 million, excess of 91 million persons, $1.3 million is well justified. 44,000 people come into our country, generate income. Many of them as tourists. Many of them would be people from the diaspora coming back to their country, but the majority come as tourists, and they do spend money, and they are important to the economy of this country. These people who visit our country by themselves could generate the $1.3 million, and much, much more than that. So I think it's important. Sometimes people make utterances. Why spend that money? But, Mr. Speaker, when the threat was made that LIAT would shut down, I believe all of us understood the importance of keeping LIAT afloat. So I am happy to say that the threat will not be carried out. We are hoping that progressively political interference would be removed from the management of LIAT, because we expect LIAT, and the mandate LIAT was given on Tuesday when I went to a meeting in Antigua, was that they must begin operations as a business. But operations as a business mean that the flights that are not viable, the routes, they say, that are not viable, not giving the kind of yield of passengers that could make a profit or even a break even, could potentially be taken out. And only the lucrative flights like the Grenada, Barbados routes and so on would be left. And LIAC understands the importance of servicing the non-lucrative flights as well. Because let's say, for example, Grenada St. Vincent is not yielding the amount, but somebody wants to go to St. Vincent from Grenada, or Vinci wants to come to Grenada. What happens to these people? They are important within the CARICOM mix. And therefore, while the yield may not be satisfactory, but the demand is still there. So LIAT has come up with a formula called the MRG. And that means minimum revenue guarantee. It means that every flight that takes off, LIAT flight that takes off, must expect a break-even revenue. It also means that flights that have less than that are at risk of not going at all. So maybe the ferry that we have been talking about, we have to start conversations on that. But the formula recommends that the flights that do not yield a certain amount, and what they have done is calculate the routes and what is the break-even number of seats that must be occupied. And sometimes you go on a LIAT and the plane is full or pretty full. Sometimes you go and you can count the number of heads on the LIAT flight. And so we have to ask ourselves, you know, how can LIAT survive with the ups and the downs? You go on a JetBlue from New York to Grenada and it is full. And there's a demand now for more flights from New York to Grenada. There is even a demand for Canada, even though Air Canada is doing daily flights. There's a demand for that during certain periods. So imagine for LIAT, where the demand may not be so high, how can they compete with other airlines? Not compete in terms of where they travel to, the routes, but compete in terms of generating income. And so that formula was presented to us that when above a certain threshold, governments do not have to pay anything. But below that, if they do not reach break-even, governments have to contribute. And therefore, we have been looking at that. The team of us who met with them didn't like the formula, and we asked them to revisit the formula. But we are aware that it's a business, and for LIAT to continue to run, to service 100,000 people per year, that they must take a business-like approach. But we have also said to them, knowing full well that some routes are very good for Grenada. Grenada is one of the 3 countries in the Caribbean. Only 3 countries showed growth in terms of visitors and travel in and out of destinations. 1 of 3. All of the others showed either this similar level as before or they decreased. And therefore, we are doing very well in terms of visitors from the Caribbean, and we need to maintain this. So, Mr. Speaker, they're going to revisit the formula, but we also said that when we exceed and you make profits, we have to look at how we can offset a bit what government needs to pay for the not productive flights and give us some credit for that. So hopefully we will not have to pay as much. But we in the Ministry of Tourism, we are aware that we must do more marketing. We must create more incentives for people to visit Grenada so that our flights are always above the break-even level. And we already have started to have meetings. We'll be having a number of consultations in the next few weeks. On Tuesday, when I went to Antigua, there was a consultation with the private sector, and I am pleased to say that there's a growing PPP relationship between the government entities and the private sector, and that has augured well. They have come up with excellent suggestions. They are willing to help us execute those and implement those suggestions, but very importantly, several of them have come up with the finances to assist in the financing of those things. So, Mr. Speaker, I just want to let the Grenadian public know that we can rest assured that for now, the planes will not be sold. There is not a serious risk of Liat shutting down, but there is a critical issue that we must look at, the flights that are not viable. What we're going to do, we either pay or the flights will be discontinued. We are in these discussions, and several proposals were made as to how we could keep Liat viable. We are all in this together because, Mr. Speaker, several of the islands have said they will look to other airlines. But when we looked at the track record, all of the smaller airlines that came within the region to provide services, they folded in short time. Liat is the only airline that has survived over the years and have continued to work for the region at a deficit. Now, Liat is not paying me to do that, but the statistics are there. And therefore, since Liat belongs to us, I want to say that I support very heavily working with Liat to make it viable, financing when it is necessary, because, Mr. Speaker, we do not talk about it, but most airlines that come here, we are either contributing in one way or the other or have contributed in the past. American Airlines, we contributed heavily to get them to come back to Grenada to provide services for Grenada. And now they are doing so well that we do not have to pay anything at all because the flight is full. So we do not have to contribute anymore. But there was a time when we did. And we hope that in the near future, similar things will happen with Liat. If all of us put ourselves around Liat and give the support, but we have said to them, and my Minister for Finance said to me that I must say that, and I told them I couldn't come back home without saying it. Unless there is less outside influence in Liat, and unless Liat is allowed to operate as a business and not on the whims and fancies of some shareholders, we will continue to be in that problem, and Grenada will not put any monies into Liat if that situation occurs. So, Mr. Speaker, the public will hear much more about that through other means and certainly through this very honorable House. But I am happy that we're doing what we have to do, and others have seen what we have to do. As a matter of fact, 2 other countries committed to helping Liat financially, and Grenada has paved the way in that regard, and I'm proud of my country. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Minister for Tourism.
Item number 13, personal explanations. Item number 14, motions.
Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the motion 14A standing in my name, which reads, whereas on the gracious address delivered by the Governor General on the occasion of the ceremonial seat opening of the second session of the 10th Parliament on Monday, 19th November 2018, was further deferred to a date to be fixed, be it resolved that the said address be further deferred to a date to be fixed.
Honourable members, the question is that the debate of the gracious address delivered by the Governor General on the occasion of the ceremonial state opening of the second session of the 10th Parliament on Monday, 19th November 2018, was deferred to a date to be fixed, that it be now resolved that this debate be further deferred to a date to be fixed. Those who are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary opinion say nay. Think the ayes have it? The ayes have it.
Item number 15, bills.
Honourable Representative for St. David.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to introduce for first reading a bill for an act shortly entitled Annual Stamp Tax Amendment Bill 2019.
An act to amend the Annual Stamp Tax Act, Cap 16A, shortly entitled the Annual Stamp Tax Amendment Bill 2019.
Honorable Representative for St. David.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the relevant standing order of the House be suspended to enable the bill to be taken through all its stages at this sitting.
Honorable members, the question is that the relevant standing orders of the House be suspended to enable the bill to be taken through all its stages at this sitting. Those who have that opinion say aye. Of the contrary opinion say nay. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Honorable Member for St. David.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the second reading of the bill. Mr. Speaker, the annual stamp tax applies to all companies and is based on sales, receipts from sales, gross sales. That's how this tax is. So even before you deduct anything, your gross sales, you're charged the annual stamp tax. And in 2013, when it came in, the annual stamp tax was at the rate of 1% of your gross sales. And in 2015, it was amended to 0.75%. And after a request by the private sector to consider the rate, as I said, because it's based on gross sales, in 2017, the rate was dropped further to 0.7%. So the current rate for the annual stamp tax is 0.7%. And we have listened to the dealers, suppliers of petrol products that complain that the margin, this annual stamp tax on gross sales is affecting the business, and therefore they cannot replace the tanks. They will have the tanks there for a number of years. They need to replace the storage tanks. And they will find it very difficult because of the payment of the annual stamp tax and the fixed margin. Now, the first thing that had to be done, Mr. Speaker, is that we had to make an amendment to repeal Section 15A of the Principal Act. Under Section 15A of the Principal Act, it says, where a person fails to register in the manner required by Section 3A or to furnish the controller with information under the registration process in breach of Section 3A, he or she is liable to a penalty of $250. This section had to be repealed because it conflicts with Section 77 of the Tax Administration Act 2016, which also provides for a penalty for failing. And what the Tax Administration Act says, wherever there is a conflict, then the Tax Administration Act will take precedence. And because of this conflict, we had to now move to repeal Section 15A of the Principal Act and allow Section 77 of the Tax Administration Act to take precedence. So that's the first change that we're making. The second one is to amend Section 19 of the Principal Act and insert a new subsection which will exempt licensed service station from paying annual stamp tax on the petrol component of the sales. Now, I need to explain that, Mr. Speaker. It says the annual stamp tax on the petrol component of the sale will be exempted because, you know, gas service stations now sell all different types of products. They have lubricants, all sort of things you could get for your vehicle and others. Some service stations have mini-mart, and the company is registered under the same company name. So in this case, only the petrol component will be exempted from the annual stamp tax, not the other things that they sell. Because, and part of the problem with this, the petrol, is that you might say, well, why give it only to the petrol, the sales? Well, Mr. Speaker, the margin, the profit margin for this company and the dealers are fixed by law. They have fixed margin. For gasoline, $1.25 per imperial gallon for the company, that's the fixed margin. And for the dealers, 98 cents on an imperial gallon. So the margin fixed, and then you are asking them to pay the gross, and the gross makes it very difficult for them. So they have approached the government to increase the margins. And we said, well, there are other things we can do for you to help you. And one of the things we could do is to look at the annual stamp tax and exempt the sale of petrol products from the annual stamp tax. And that is what this amendment is doing. For diesel, the company margin is $1.25, and for the dealers, it's 75 cents. Is the profit margin, which I indicated is fixed by law. On the sale of the product, that is what the profit margin would be. And therefore, this amendment is to exempt the petrol component of it from paying the annual stamp tax of 0.7%. And this will be effective, Mr. Speaker, from the 1st of January 2019, because it's an annual stamp tax. So if you started in June, then you will have to say, well, you have to pay from January to June, right? So it's going to be gazetted, and it will be done retroactively from the 1st of January 2019. This amendment will take effect to give them the full relief so that they would not have to pay the annual stamp tax for 2019 when they are filing in 2020. So that is the effect, as I said, to give the space to the companies and the dealers, the retailers, so that they can undertake the necessary expansion, one of which is replacing the tanks that they have for the storage of the diesel and the gasoline. Must meet certain requirements. International, they have to meet ISO standard, because you're storing gasoline and diesel, and in order to bring them up to the ISO standard, they need to invest in these new tanks and to do further expansion. And so this amendment is intended to assist, to provide that sort of relief to the company and the dealers in petroleum products only. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member, before I propose the question, I realize that we're talking here of a money bill, which would require...
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I wish to indicate that we have the permission of the Governor General to proceed.
All right, thank you. Honourable members, the question proposed I'm just proposing. The question proposed that this bill be read a second time. Honourable Representative for St. Patrick West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to give my support to the amendment as presented by the member for St. David, and to make a few comments on the bill as presented. First of all, Mr. Speaker, I want to commend the Office of the Clerk of Parliament for the timely submission of making the necessary papers available. Not the 6 days notice, but I think we could leave with 2-3 days, and I think so I'm satisfied. I got my copy electronically, and when I came here, I got the hard copy. I also wish to commend the Legal Affairs, or the drafting unit or the Department of Legal Affairs, for what I consider to be a more thorough explanation of the bill, and at the same time to make available a copy of the Principal Act, because there are times when you have to make amendments and you make reference to certain sections in the Principal Act and you don't have this section, you don't have the Act. But now you can refer to the Principal Act, and I think this is very good, and I want to commend the Legal Department as well. Mr. Speaker, I support the bill for a couple of reasons. First of all, 0.7% might sound small, but we have to look at two issues, the financial implications as well as the psychological implication of such a move. Mr. Speaker, we have to understand that this administration has been criticized severely for imposing during the structural adjustment program 28 new taxes and levies and duties. Although I am hard-pressed to identify those 28 new taxes, duties, and levies. But we have seen, Mr. Speaker, over the past couple of years, and at the end of the 3-year structural adjustment program, that government has taken a number of measures to ease the tax burden on the Grenadian people. We have seen a reduction in the personal income tax. We have seen the exemption of pensions from the tax. We have seen reduction in corporate tax, Mr. Speaker. And these are all positive moves. And now we are looking at another amendment that will provide additional benefits. So I think government must be commended for taking those measures, Mr. Speaker. Although government cannot be irresponsible, we have to be very careful, because if we do not manage the affairs properly, if we are not fiscally responsible, Mr. Speaker, we can go back to the pre-2013 days, and we do not want to go back to those days. So we have to be guarded, we have to be very careful as to exactly the measures that we take in order to ease the tax burden and provide benefits to our people. But, Mr. Speaker, in presenting the bill, I was hoping to get from the member for St. David more, the financial implications. Yes, we talk about 7%, 0.7 of 1% in stamp duty. But to the ordinary person, what does that mean in terms of actual, what is the benefit? To how will the dealers benefit? What is the quantum of benefits? How much money will they be realizing, saving from that move? What is the size of the stamp tax, or the petrol component on total taxes to the dealer? Is it more than 75%, 80%? To some dealers, it might be over 80%. So it will vary. So I want to have an idea as to exactly the financial implications. And, I understand what is said in terms of how they will use it, but how much money will be realized from that move, removing that 7.7% on the petrol component of the sales of the service dealer. That, to me, Mr. Speaker, is important. And will the ordinary consumer receive any benefit from that? Yes, the dealers will benefit, but will the consumers themselves benefit from such a move? If that could be provided, Mr. Speaker, I'll be happy, because I'm still not clear. I have not done the calculation as to exactly how much money we're talking about with such a move. And I will be happy to get that kind of information from the member when he returns to speak on the bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Representative, for St. Patrick West. Honourable Representative for St. David.
Let me thank the member for St. Patrick West for his contribution, which is usually very enlightening. as he correctly pointed out, the government is moving in the direction of gradually reducing taxes, but you have to be prudent, because we don't want to get back to the situation it was. With respect to the direct benefit, as I mentioned, the margins for the dealers are fixed. That won't change. Right? So you wouldn't see a reduction in the price, and the price of gas, and is the oil based on Walmart price of oil. Every 18, the price keep going up and down based on the changes. With respect to the amount, that information was not able to attain before coming here. The Ministry of Finance was asked, when this came out, was asked for the calculation of how much money really it is that you're giving up, but that was not made available at the time of presentation, but I'm sure that we will get this information to look at the cabinet meeting, and it will be made available to the member. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the member and to move the second reading of the bill.
Honourable members, the question is that the bill for an act to amend the Annual Stamp Tax Act, Cap 16A, be read a second time. Those who are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary opinion say nay. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
A bill for an act shortly entitled the Annual Stamp Tax Amendment Bill 2019.
Honourable Member for St. David.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the House resolves itself into a committee of the whole House to consider the bill clause by clause.
Honourable members, the question is that this Honourable House resolves itself into a committee of the whole House to consider the bill clause by clause. Those who are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary opinion say nay. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Honourable members, this House is now in committee. Clause 2.
Clause 3.
Clause 2.
Clause 2.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 2 becomes part of the bill. Those of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary opinion say nay. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
Clause 3.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 3 forms part of the bill. Those who have that opinion say aye. Of the contrary opinion say nay. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
Clause 1.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 1 forms part of the bill. Those of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary opinion say nay. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Honourable Member for St. David.
Mr. Chairman, I beg to move that the House resumes and the Chairman of Committee report progress on the bill.
Honourable members, the question is that this Honourable House resumes and the Chairman of Committee reports progress on the bill. Those who have that opinion say aye. Of the contrary opinion say nay. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Honorable members, this House now resumes. I have to report that the bill was considered by a committee of the whole House and passed without amendments. Honorable Representative for St. David.
I beg to move that the chairman's report be adopted.
Honorable members, the question is that the chairman's report be adopted. Those who have that opinion say aye. Of the contrary opinion say nay. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Honorable member for St. David.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the third reading of the bill.
Honorable members, the question proposed is that the bill be read a third time. Honorable members, the question is that the bill be read a third time and passed. Those who are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary opinion say nay. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
A bill for an act shortly entitled the Annual Stamp Tax Amendment Bill 2019.
Item number 16, request for leave to move the adjournment of the House on matters of urgent public importance. Item number 17, public business.
The 16. Honorable Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I rise and to move the adjournment, I'd give your permission to compliment yourself, Mr. Speaker, and the staff as we embark now on a regimented, structured program for meeting of the House. And I am very pleased to hear the member for St. Patrick West, complimenting the clerk and the rest of the staff for submitting the documents. Not, as he said, to meet the standard, but we're getting there, Mr. Speaker. And I know of your concern and the members of staff in order to ensure that we give the documents to everyone on time. And I see that even those in the other place have a good idea of what is going on. So I think we're moving there, Mr. Speaker. I want to indicate, too, that the drafting unit, Legal Affairs, they have been doing a significant amount of this, but perhaps they're now sending it to everybody. But I know they have been sending the bills and things to maybe the Leader of Government Business and perhaps to other persons, but it's good to hear now that everyone is getting it, Mr. Speaker. And I just want to ask that they work together with your staff, Mr. Speaker, and myself to ensure that we get the laws of Grenada. I think it should be given to every member. But we don't want the big box that we got before. We go online, which means, Mr. Speaker, that we must pay for the subscription. And once Legal Affairs tells us, I will take it perhaps to the appropriate sources, and we could get the subscription. It shouldn't be a lot, maybe a couple £1,000, but that will be very necessary. And as we come up with the other motions to do things electronically, I think we'll be there. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the adjournment of this Honorable House. I need aye.
Honorable members, the question proposed is that this Honorable House be adjourned. Just before, may I take this opportunity to make just a few observations. One of it I should have made at my announcement. That is that the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, which will be holding its 44th conference of the Caribbean, the Americas, and Atlantic region for July 12th to 19th, 2019. In this regard, Grenada would be represented by the Speaker, the Clerk of Parliament, Senator the Honorable Katisha Williams, who would be representing the Women Parliamentary Caucus, and Mr. Nilon Franklin, who would be representing the Youth and Youth Parliament debate. So 4 persons would be representing Grenada at that conference from the 12th to the 19th. I also want to say that, honorable parliamentary representatives, the adjournment gives opportunity to speak to your constituents. We want to encourage parliamentary representatives to take the opportunity. You have, I think, according to the standing orders, 10 minutes. 15 minutes, we have increased it. It will be increased to 15 minutes to speak to your constituents. You are here to represent them. They want to hear you. Speak to them. We hear about the ministries, but they do not hear you speak to them. So I want to encourage parliamentary representatives to take the opportunity at sittings of the House, and as we try to make our sittings schedule, would have more time as we would have a scheduled meeting. So you want to take that opportunity. I would say to the constituents out there, be prepared to listen to the Parliament, because your ministers and your parliamentary representatives would be speaking to you. I would tell them that. So if you did not speak with them, it means you're disobeying the Speaker. Secondly, I want to commend the Ministry of Education for its move in taking the initiative that you're taking to bring learning, to make learning more accessible, and the weight of the books on the children's back, which to me is causing a serious problem nowadays, because they have this bag on their backs and so on. It's not doing very well to them. But I want us to hasten with caution. Grenada invested a lot of money. The government of Grenada, this government, invested money to bring to each secondary school computer laboratories that was supposed to have aid in the teaching. But because it was not done having prepared the teachers, it was used to teach computer science. And the whole main focus of it was lost. So we want to make sure that we train the people who are going to be implementing this. And now you have the students who are much more advanced than 20 years ago. So it should be now an easier task. But we want to make sure that the people who would be implementing, who would be using it to teach, know what they're doing. Because the students are smart as far as technology is concerned. And every 5-year-old is becoming smarter every day because they are being born with the computer, whereas we brought the computer to meet us. So I want us to tread very cautiously on that. It is heartening to hear that LIAT would not be sold or closed down, because I was worried about my ability to travel now if anything happened to LIAT. So that was great news, and I thank them for it. Honorable members, the question is that this honorable House now stands adjourned. Those of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary opinion say nay. I think the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. This honorable House now stands adjourned. Sign it out.
Labour Minister reiterates government's commitment to amicably resolving the pension impasse. We'll have details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for today, Thursday, May 2nd, 2019, I am Rikisha St. Louis. Labour Minister Honourable Peter David has restated government's commitment to the Grenada Union of Teachers and Public Servants to amicably resolve the current impasse regarding pension and gratuity. It came during his address to unions at the annual May Day celebrations in Lasages on Wednesday. This year, the celebration was held under the theme Social and Economic Justice, a must respect workers' rights. Minister David said compared with years ago, workers and unions are more hopeful of resolving challenges that have direct implications on the workers and the overall sector.
We must be careful not to let style get in the way of substance, nor personality in the way of unbreakable commitments. It may surprise some, but from where I sit as Minister of Labour, we are more hopeful today than we were a year ago that we will find fair, reasonable solutions to the biggest challenges that face workers in this country. We may sometimes haggle about the details. We may sit across the table with different perspectives at times, but we have no doubt that this coming era shall be working people's era.
He said the Ministry of Labour has been constantly working with unions and workers to settle disputes and negotiations.
Within the Ministry of Labour and during the last year, we have settled scores of contentious labour issues. Almost every single one of them putting workers individually and collectively in better places. Most of those have not made the headlines, but I will leave it to the leadership of the unions and to individual workers who have been so positively affected to, in time, tell their own stories. And we have done right by hundreds of workers, not for the spotlight, not for the gallery, but because it was the right thing to do and consistent with the laws of Grenada.
Minister David highlighted decisions made by government that brought direct benefits to workers and led to the successes within the labour industry.
In the post-February 2013 period, we have successfully stabilized and turned around the national economy, having the most robustly sustained growth of GDP in the region. We have increased public sector workers' income each year between 2016 and 2019 and paid over $110 million in direct monetary benefits. Added to that, government removed personal income taxes on retrenchment and severance pay arising from job loss as a result of redundancy, enhanced pension payments, and other pension income for retired workers. In 2017, government reduced the personal income tax from 15% to 10% for workers up to $60,000 per annum.
SpiceMass 2019 will be one with a difference, with proposed structural changes to major events. That promised by Mr. Kelvin Jacob, Chief Executive Officer of the SpiceMass Corporation. He was addressing Thursday's media launch of SpiceMass, which will be guided by the theme Many Events, One Carnival, SpiceMass 2019. Jacob said following consultations with stakeholders, it was decided that the structure of Carnival must change in order to preserve the cultural aspect of the event.
Production of our major shows. This year, all of our shows will be produced. There will be some changes in the structure of some of our shows, which we will announce in the coming weeks. Juve. Juve will be more structured this year to ensure that no one mass dominates the Juve, but that a spectacle of the various Juve bands can be seen as they move through the parade on Juve morning. The call time for Juve is 4 a.m. and the start time is 5 a.m. sharp. So we are having a call time, so masqueraders, you get together and you get yourself ready at 4 a.m., but we are actually moving off at 5 a.m. So we will have a prompt start to our Juve.
Culture Minister Senator Nolan Cox says his ministry has been working with Spice Mass to develop the product experience for visitors and locals. He says it is equally important to attract visitors for Carnival as it is to give them an unforgettable experience.
We have been trying our best to see how we can continue to improve this product, this Carnival product, more and more every year. And it's a challenge because the expectations have really skyrocketed for 2019. We have reports, and my good friend here from GTA, who is here, she can confirm that there have been anticipation in terms of increased arrivals to our shows for 2019. We are very much encouraged by this, but also we are challenged by it, because at the same time, we do not want persons to come here and have a bad experience. We want them to have a wonderful experience. So each one of us have to work together to ensure that we create an experience that persons would not forget.
Jacob meanwhile says the calendar of events leading up to Spice Mass will be officially launched soon. However, on Saturday, May 4th, the public can enjoy the first official event, Carnival City.
The first event after the launch of Carnival will be our Carnival City, which will be on the 14th of June. We were hoping to start earlier, but because of the music festival, we have moved it back. And we have decided to move that on a Friday instead of a Thursday. So Carnival City will now be on Fridays instead of Thursdays. The launch of Carnival happens, the official launch for the general public happens on Saturday, May 4th. And at this launch, we will be showcasing all of the entities that make up Spice Mass. So we will see masqueraders in a parade. First and foremost, we are going to be having that as a road show from the Ariza Car Park into the Kirani James Athletic Stadium.
This is the National Report. We'll have more news after the break.
The eyes of the world are on us more than ever. So let's take it to them. Saturday, May 4th, the Spice Mass Corporation launches Spice Mass 2019. The Caribbean's biggest summer festival. This year's launch starts with a roadshow from Ariza Car Park to the National Stadium from 3 p.m. Bring out your last year's costume and join the parade. It's one big experience with a display of fancy mask, traditional mask, Moko Jambi, and the most envied Jab Jab. The official opening is at the National Stadium, featuring your favorite soca artists and DJs, Calypso Monarch, Steel Pan champions, and presentations of the 2019 Carnival Queen contestants, plus displays of 2019 costumes, SMC show tickets, and other attractions to be won. Saturday, May 4th, the National Stadium, the launch of Spice Mass 2019. Bring out the entire family. Log on to spicemassgrenada.com for more.
Welcome back. Grenada's Foreign Affairs Minister is calling for renewed commitment to bringing a speedy and unconditional end to colonialism in all its forms. Minister Peter David was addressing a Caribbean regional seminar on implementation of the third international decade for the eradication of colonialism. The three-day seminar at the Radisson Krung Ballroom has attracted delegates from all over the world. Minister David says 2020 will mark 60 years since the adoption of the UN General Assembly's declaration on the granting of independence to colonial countries and people, and almost 30 years have elapsed since the adoption of the first international decade for the eradication of colonialism. He pointed out that they have less than 2 years left to reach the intended milestone before the end of the third international decade, and as such, they need to move urgently, focusing on critical areas.
Renewed commitment to bringing a speedy and unconditional end to colonialism in all its forms. 2. Cooperation by all parties to empower the Special Committee to carry out its mandate. And 3. Pragmatism so that our recommendations are driven by common sense and can be implemented. This is the context in which we must proceed in order to safeguard the interests, well-being, and advancement of all the peoples of the 17 non-self-governing territories.
The UN Secretary General, via video conference, pledged the UN's support to the process.
Today, renewed commitment of all involved parties and pragmatic measures are required to accelerate decolonization processes. The United Nations will continue to assist, but all should play their role. The administering powers, non-self-governing territories, member states, and the Special Committee on Decolonization.
Finally, preparing and promoting healthier choices. That will be the major focus of local chefs and culinary students participating in the second Flavors of Grenada Food and Beverage Festival. It runs from May 20th to the 26th, focusing on food, art and music. Marketing manager at the Grenada Tourism Authority, Francine Stewart, says the GTA continues to support Flavors of Grenada in the promotion of food and culture.
As a destination marketing organization, so GTA goes out and markets Grenada as pure Grenada, the spice of the Caribbean. So when we say it very slowly, it makes absolute sense to support Flavors of Grenada because we're the spice of the Caribbean. We promote and market our spices, and Flavors of Grenada is doing just that.
That story just ended the national report for today, Thursday, May 2nd. Recapping the top story. Labour Minister reiterates government's commitment to amicably resolving the pension impasse. On behalf of everyone here at the Government Information Service who made this newscast possible, I am Rakisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.
May 10th, the most anticipated food and drink event is upon us again as the RGPF Police Week Comedy presents Food Fest 2019. Pearls Estrip is the venue as the clubs of the RGPF join forces with the Grenada Customs, Her Majesty's Prison, and the Grenada Airports Authority, and will all compete for culinary supremacy. From 12 midday, food goes on sale. Each participating club will prepare and present a variety of local dishes, which will be judged and critiqued based on taste, presentation, use of ingredients, and applied knowledge. I'm telling you, these guys and girls could cook. And as evening simmers in, the action gets turned up with music, top DJs, artists, live band, queen and king contestant appearances. Food Fest 2019, Pearls Airstrip, Friday, 10th May. The perfect family event.
The eyes of the world are on us more than ever. So let's take it to them. Saturday, May 4th, the Spice Mass Corporation launches Spice Mass 2019. The Caribbean's biggest summer festival. This year's launch starts with a roadshow from Ariza Copper to the National Stadium from 3 p.m. Bring out your last year's costume and join the parade. It's one big experience with a display of fancy man, traditional man, Moko Jumbi, and the most envied Jab Jab. The official opening is at the National Stadium, featuring your favorite soca artists and DJs, Calypso Monarch, Steel Pan Champions, and presentations of the 2019 Carnival Queen contestants, plus displays of 2019 costumes, SMC show tickets, and other attractions to be won. Saturday, May 4th, the National Stadium, the launch of Spice Mass 2019. Bring out the entire family. Log on to spicemassgrenada.com for more.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new national party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
Putting the lens on Grenada, its people, and its possibilities. This is State of Affairs. Presenting this week, I am Sherry and Noel. keys to multi-million-dollar modern port facility at Tyrrell Bay, Carriacou officially handed over to manager of Grenada Ports Authority, Carl Felix, during an official ceremony. More comfortable learning environment for preschoolers in New Hampshire as new wing is now complete. And the Ministry of Labour, with the assistance of the International Labour Organization, trade union representatives and employers, work on occupational health and safety policy for Grenada. These are the images from across Grenada. This is State of Affairs. More stories after this.
Yeah, I know you're from back to back, you know. There's no way that a man can ever beat you. When we went to about 5
What did the last
Too fast. Man run. Yo, Rennie, hold on. Rennie, you're the same girl. You're all the amount of boyfriend. Yeah. That's your chance, Rennie. Hold on. It's the walk.
Whenever a pedestrian is attempting to cross a pedestrian crossing or any other road, he must first stop and make sure that there is no oncoming vehicle. However, if there is any oncoming vehicle, he crosses briskly from one side to the other. If there is any vehicle proceeding, he ensures that vehicles come to a complete stop. After that vehicle comes to a complete stop, he crosses briskly from one side to the other. Remember, your safety comes first.
Tyrrell Bay Port in Carriacou has been officially commissioned and is expected to commence official operations by end of October 2018. The port, which was constructed at a cost of $7.3 million EC dollars, will see the suspension of Hillsborough as the Sister Isle principal port of entry. For some time, there has been calls on the administration to construct a proper facility for Carriacou, as the present facility at Hillsborough has outlived its time and was no longer appropriate for the volume of activities and daily traffic. Wendy Edmond has more.
The newly constructed port in Tyrrell Bay is a replacement to the old structure in Hillsborough, which was in danger of collapsing and as such presented a danger to life and limb of those who used it. Prime Minister and the Minister for Finance, Dr. the Right Honourable Keith Mitchell, who attended the official opening of the $3.4 million Tyrrell Bay Port facility in Carriacou in early October, said that the project is part of the infrastructural development for the Sister Isles.
I'm particularly pleased with what is taking place here today because it has enormous implication for economic spin-off for the people of Carriacou and Petermarick and the country as a whole.
The contract was awarded to Jiangsu Geology and Engineering Company Limited, and the sword was turned to mark the start of construction in January of 2017. Now, after 18 months of construction work and modification of design, a new structure has emerged, complete with a welcome center, sit-in facilities, warehouse and office space, and washroom facility. General Manager of the Ports Authority, Carl Felix, now anticipates enhanced service for passengers from regional and international ferry services.
We and the Grenada Ports Authority
very happy that at long last we are able to provide persons traveling between Grenada and Carriacou with all of the basic amenities that traveling persons deserve. In that regard, we do hope that persons traveling on the Osprey and other local ferries are going to appreciate the shelter from the elements, the restroom facilities that have been provided, the seating accommodation, as well as the comfort of air condition that will be available as the need arrives.
Former Minister for Carriacou and Petite Martinique Affairs, Alvin Nimrod, was recognized by Prime Minister Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell for his initiative to ensure the port facility was constructed. Dr. Mitchell also spoke of future plans that will spell greater economic benefits for the sister isle. One of them is a decision by Carnival Cruise Lines to extend further cruises to Carriacou and Petite Martinique, while the other will be upgraded air transport facilities. He said plans are already in train for an extension of the runway in Carriacou to accommodate small jets.
Plans are being laid with a Chinese company, looking at designs to increase that runway facility, provide opportunity for small jets to land. The final plan would be to create a new airport, and that, of course, has been identified in the Dumfries area, and that will be, of course, it will take a lot more resources. And so the medium-term plan and long-term would be this. The short-term plan would be taking care of the increase in runway space at the airport. What that means, sisters and brothers, further development for our country, further opportunities at all sectors of the society.
Parliamentary Representative for Carriacou and Petite Martinique Affairs, Honorable Kendra Maturin Stewart, said the new facility holds significant economic benefits for Carriacou and, by extension, Grenada.
What we, the people of Carriacou and Petite Martinique, have today is a state-of-the-art and modern port facility with significant improvement in warehouse space. With this facility, we expect to see significant improvement in the service to port users, a reduction in cargo dwell time, and improvement in vessel turnaround time.
Minister Maturin Stewart says that she is happy that passengers will no longer be exposed to the elements of the weather while waiting to board the ferry, since the facility took into account the island's future developmental needs.
These facilities will not only ease the burden of transacting business, but it will also allow for increase in the volume of business we see here in Carriacou and Petite Martinique. More people will want to do business here now that the facilities are here. I am very confident that these facilities will open new opportunities for our people, with larger ships berthing here at times.
Persons who use the port in Carriacou on a regular basis gave their views on the change of port location in Carriacou.
I've been on the ground here for quite a while, and my opinion basically is that it will impact positively on most of the taximen lives, because the 40% of the people that we have coming into the island basically centered somewhere around Hillsborough area. And now that the port is relocated, it means an extra dollar in the taximan pocket. The tongue will remain the tongue, as far as I understand it, but the port in itself will be in Harveyville, so the amount of volume of traffic that you have flowing from Harveyville to Tongue will increase by 40%. At the beginning, probably would grow more at a later date. The taximen are excited. We just need a little bit of cooperation within the system as we go to Harveyville in the way that we will be operating.
It would be an additional expense in terms of transportation of material from the new port, because basically that means that it's no longer a case where there are some items that can be discharged from Hillsborough and other items that cannot be accommodated from Hillsborough be discharged at Harryville. That means everything inclusive of cement. Well, I mean, there's nothing I can do to change the situation. The most we can do is see what creative ways we have to absorb or reduce the expense of transportation in terms of getting materials from Tyrrell Bay. But I don't look at it as a loss of business in comparison to some of my fellow businessmen, because when you look at businesses in Grenada, there are some businesses that are further away from the port that strive a lot better. You have to make creative ways in enticing your customers to come to your business and have lucrative prices and have your customers satisfied, so that if they have to go all the way to Paddy's Enterprise, they know they're getting good quality and good service. You know, and that's my take on the situation. I don't really think it's going to be to our detriment. For that matter, there are certain things that could not be done in St. George's that we're entertaining doing from Harryville. For example, we have some equipment that could not be utilized because of the condition of the jetty. The port has decided that it is too heavy to be used on a jetty, but as the port is moving into Tyrrell Bay, those equipments will be used to transport our material from Tyrrell Bay to our site here.
Meanwhile, those who are concerned about the traffic arrangement in the Tyrrell Bay area because of the new port are being assured by the Traffic Department of the Royal Grenada Police Force Carriacou branch that plans are already in place to ensure a smooth flow. This has been a look at the newly constructed port facility in the Tyrrell Bay Harbour. For State of Affairs, I am Wendy Edmond reporting.
This is a Grenadian reality. This is our current state of affairs.
Guys, if I ask you what you think is the most deadly or the most dangerous creature on this planet, what are you going to say?
A shark.
Shark.
A lion.
A lion. If I tell you it's a mosquito, what are you going to say?
Mosquito. A mosquito.
It is a mosquito.
Mosquito bites result in the deaths of more than 1 million people every year. Thriving in humid and damp areas, mosquitoes reproduce quickly. The females lay their eggs in water and water-holding containers. When the pupa changes into adults, they leave the water and become free-flying biting insects. These biting pests can carry a number of diseases. Once you have a mosquito problem, check out your surroundings. It means that the mosquito breeding source is near your home. It is almost impossible to get rid of mosquitoes entirely. However, we can all play our part in controlling the mosquito population. Mosquito control is not solely the responsibility of the Ministry of Health, but it's also the responsibility of every member of the community.
It is said for a child to excel in his or her education, an environment conducive for learning is of paramount importance. With this fact in mind, the government of Grenada, through the Ministry of Education, has addressed the issue of space at the New Hampshire preschool, which for years had been adversely affected by its small size and lack of adequate amenities. The new wing was recently handed over in the presence of Prime Minister and Parliamentary Representative for the area, Dr. the Right Honourable Keith Mitchell.
For quite some time, the New Hampshire preschool in Willis St. George has been adversely affected by its small size, lack of adequate amenities, and a roof that was termite infested and slowly falling apart.
There were bats living in the roof, and it was kind of hazardous for the health.
The roof, it was dusty at times. There were noises that was very distracting to the teachers and the students. And so on, there were water marks on the wall, so we know that the roof definitely was a problem.
Our children needed space and a much cleaner environment. But at my school, it was like a matchbox. We were all crammed together, just imagine. staff and pupils, we all use the same toilet.
Before, the school only had 2 classrooms. We had 3 teachers to teach, so we had to combine 2 classes in one. So there would be a 4+ and 2 3+ together.
There were no kitchen facilities at the school, which proved to be quite inconvenient.
Before, I used to go down at the big school and bring up lunch every day.
Before, the meals were really late.
We then made a plea for help. Our dear Prime Minister heard that call and answered. Sir, to you I must say thank you, a special thank you, for your quick response and a job well done.
Construction work began on the school extension project in June 2018 and took 2 months to complete with a team of approximately 7.
The scope of work is a 10 by 24 building, classroom, a toilet and a kitchen. But we also do a repair on the roof, the whole entire roof. Yeah, you had termites and things, so we take out the whole roof and put new plies and whatsoever. Yeah, so that's what took us the 2 months.
At a total cost of approximately 60,000 EC dollars, the New Hampshire preschool welcomed the addition of its new wing at an opening ceremony on October 1st, 2018. The school now has an additional classroom, washroom facilities for staff, and a well-equipped kitchen. Student meals are now always on time.
It's better more than if they have to take it from quite in constant time and bring it here for them. So food cook on time. I shared at 11:30. They get everything on time, and the children always ask for more food. They have a nice kitchen, and the workers who are in the kitchen is very nice people.
Well, the parents they are quite pleased.
Some of my children come to that facility up here. Them children will learn. I feel they go learn better up here because they have more space, and now they're getting hard food.
Teachers are not sick as before. Now we are breathing fresher air, and we are at school every day now, so we don't have to take any sick leave or anything like that.
I like to see the situation with them. They have a better place, so they could move about and they could play, you understand?
I know from all that was provided here, we will have a better outcome in learning.
More materials and so have been added to the classroom, so they have more to interact with as it regards to learning.
I'm proud of the fact to have some say in what is taking place today, because I know what it is to want an education and cannot get it and have to struggle to get it. So when it's coming to your doorstep, you can't afford to miss it. So I want to thank all of you. It's your initiative, you know. You all need the most credit. We did our part, but I also want to say that without you guys' initiative, we wouldn't be here today.
As a community, we felt good, and we were encouraged when we saw our very own young men and young women from right here in the village working hard, working tirelessly, working overtime to make sure that we have a top-class facility.
It was not a hard thing for them because they know how to work, and they had some good men, and I'm proud of them.
Us really made our day.
Contractors Richard Braveboy and his brother Joseph Braveboy are from the New Hampshire community.
All my workers is from the community. 2 of the painters is from out. Yeah, we have 2 ladies, which is Kisha and Natalie. They work very well. Yeah, and then 3 other guys.
And they work day well as night to see the building go up. Rain and not rain, they was there. Put hands together, hand in hand. Right now, it's good, and I love to see it.
We're quite happy to do it and continue to look out for more work.
I want to say thanks to the contractors and the government for hiring me.
We expect a lot of good things coming from the community because of this new environment you have here. So parents, continue to give your support to the school, continue to secure and guard this place.
On the behalf of the principal, teachers, and the PTA of the New Hampshire Pre-Primary School, we would like to express our sincerest thanks to our Prime Minister, Dr. Mitchell, our Parliamentary Representative, Brother Tobias Clement, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Work, and every other person who are involved in making sure that we have this lovely institution that we have today.
I believe that we in New Hampshire here will go from strength to strength with your support.
For State of Affairs, I'm Annette Moore.
This is the Grenadian reality.
Let me say a special good morning again to those of you joining us via the live. That's via HARDTALK Grenada Live. Yeah, I hope you're having a wonderful morning this morning. Yeah, really hope that you're having a wonderful morning this morning. I'm trying to sign into it to see exactly who's there. I don't know why it's giving me that little issue here this morning. All right, yes, so good morning to you, Lorraine. I'm seeing Lorraine there and Hannah and hey, Marseille, morning. Yes, so I'm seeing all of you on to the live there this morning. Hope that you all are having a wonderful, wonderful morning this morning. Nice. Doesn't seem as though I'm getting that video and audio to play.
Baby.
So we'll just continue.
You go for one last time. I must
say a special good morning to Carriacou and Petit Martinique. Say a special good morning to Kim the King. You gotta pay our money, boy. You must know what to say about people. Make sure that what you're saying is truthful, eh? Nice. Hey, Kim? You want to make all kind of accusations about people and so on, malign people's name and character, and you don't have no facts to back it up? Pay your money. If you ain't hear somebody go tell you I say. It has been a short week. Of course, we had Labor Day this week. International Workers' Day. Workers of the nation, we know you enjoyed yourself. Some people upset that workers enjoyed themselves. They could upset that the workers enjoy the working whole year. They get a little chance to make a little, a little wine and jam, a little chip down the road. Sometimes they even get a chance when it's carnival time. They have the freedom to do so and they enjoyed that. They took the opportunity. Imagine if they had groovy competition back then as well, huh? Some guys that would have mashed that thing up back in the past, Doggy, the voice in there again like that, happened to you? Might have to take one of them, redo them, and come in competition with them this year for groovy.
One more chance, baby.
Yeah, you might have to take that, or you might have to come and, some kind of thing, Yeah, International Workers' Day. That was Wednesday. you can't be paying union dues whole year and then after that you ain't enjoy yourself anything, you know, I'm telling you. You have to enjoy yourself, yeah? We've got a call online. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Morning. Yes,
Hello.
caller,
Speak with Mr. McGuire?
you've got the wrong number, my dear. You're actually live on radio right now.
Oh.
Yeah, Mr. McGuire is not here. 4407377 for those of you that want to call in. As we said, we've got the launch of Carnival taking place tomorrow at the Carriacou James Athletic Stadium car park, starting with a parade of the bands from the Ariza car park coming along Melville Street. So if you have to drive along that area, expect some disruptions in traffic. Anyway, from 4 p.m. coming down there, yeah, expect some disruptions in traffic in that area. For a little while, you might have some trouble getting in and out of the bus terminal as well as the bands are passing by. Looking for the notice. I know the Royal Grenada Police Force, they sent out a notice on the traffic arrangements. I'm looking for it, but I'm not seeing where I have it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I will take you back. I don't want you back. No, no. Baby, I'm sorry. No, girl, you didn't give a damn but whatever we had before. You said you're leaving and you don't want to be with me no more. And how you found someone and you know he's your everything. But now you begging at my door, want me to take you in. I know I want to. It's not easy.
All right, so we need you all to listen carefully, especially my busmen friends there, those of you that ply your trade along the West Coast. Well, even those of you that ply your trade along the East Coast as well. The Traffic Department of the Royal Grenada Police Force hereby informs the general public of the following traffic arrangements to facilitate Spice Masses Carnival launch on Saturday the 4th of May, commencing at 3 p.m. All right? Nice. There will be a parade of the bands from the Ariza car park onto Melville Street, entering Carriacou James Athletic Stadium car park. All vehicular traffic entering the National Stadium will use the Queen's Park Ring Road from its intersection with Cherry Hill, Mount Rush, or Humpback Bridge. Let me repeat that. All vehicular traffic entering the National Stadium will use the Queen's Park Ring Road from its intersection with Cherry Hill, Mount Rush, or the Humpback Bridge. No entry areas. Vehicular traffic will not be allowed in the following areas. Old Fort Public Road from its junction with Lucas Street. So the Old Fort Public Road from its junction with Lucas Street. Cemetery Hill from its junction with Church Street. Cemetery Hill with its junction from Church Street. The Ring Road from its junction with Mount Rush Public Road to the direction of the Humpback Bridge. Sendall Tunnel from 1 p.m. once the parade is on the street. So you will not be able to enter through Sendall Tunnel from 1 p.m. tomorrow once the parade is on the street. All right? And you will also not be able to enter onto Old Fort Public Road from its junction with Lucas Street. That's going up to PBC there. If you're coming from Lucas Street and you're going up to PBC, you will not be able to pass on that road. You'll also not be able to come up from Church Street and go down Cemetery Hill there. And the Ring Road from the Mount Rush Junction heading towards the Humpback Bridge, you will not be able to go that direction. You could come from the Humpback Bridge and go towards the Carriacou James Athletic Stadium car park, but you cannot go the other direction. All right? Public parking. VIPs and officials will be allowed to park on the concrete area in front of the National Cricket Stadium. Media and police officers will be allowed to park in the concrete area behind the cricket stadium entering Gate 6. The general public will be allowed to park in Gate 6 in the vicinity of the cricket net area. So let me go over that again. VVIPs, VIPs and officials will be allowed to park on the concrete area in front of the National Cricket Stadium. Media, police officers, etc. Media and police officers will be allowed to park in the concrete area behind the cricket stadium entering Gate 6. The general public will be allowed to park in Gate 6 in the vicinity of the cricket net area. A no parking will be allowed in the following areas on either side of the road. The Stadium Ring Road, no parking around the Stadium Ring Road. Melville Street from the Fish Market to Cherry Hill. So no one will be able to park between the Fish Market going to Cherry Hill, that's heading north, that direction. Queen's Park Road from its junction with Greenbridge to the National Stadium, no parking there. No parking. River Road from Purcell's Lumberyard to the roundabout close to Lacroix Brothers Crematorium. There will be no parking on the Mount Rush Public Road from its junction with the Ring Road. There will be no parking at the National Stadium main entrance public way from Greenbridge, and no parking on the main entrance to the National Stadium. Again, let me give you the no parking areas so you can't say you didn't know and that's how you get a ticket. We're going to tell you. Right? No parking will be allowed on the Stadium Ring Road. That's the road around the stadium. No parking there. No parking on Melville Street from the Fish Market to Cherry Hill. No parking on the Queen's Park Road from its junction with the Green Bridge to the National Stadium. No parking River Road from Purcell's Lumberyard to the roundabout close to Lacroix Brothers Crematorium. No parking in Mount Rush Public Road from its junction with the Ring Road. No parking at the National Stadium main entrance public way from the Green Bridge. And no parking on the main entrance to the National Stadium. The emergency route from the National Stadium will be Queen's Park Public Road onto Cemetery Hill and onto Granatang Road. Persons will only be allowed to vend on the seaside of the main public road along the Western Main Road. So you're only allowed to vend on the seaside, of the main public road along the Western Main Road. No vending will be allowed along Queen's Park Road from Greenbridge to the main entrance of the National Stadium or any other area in the vicinity of the National Stadium. There will be a delay in traffic for motorists traveling towards Melville Street from its intersections with the following areas from 1 p.m. Melville Street, which is intersection with Lacroix Roundabout. Melville Street, which is intersection with St. Jules Street. Melville Street, which is intersection with St. John Street. Melville Street, which is intersection with Hillsborough Street. Motorists are advised to use alternative routes to get to their destination. The Royal Grenada Police Force requests the full cooperation of the general public in facilitating this temporary traffic arrangement. The motoring public is also advised to comply with the directives given by traffic officers, traffic wardens, and signs. All right? So that's some information coming out from the Royal Grenada Police Force. All right? Nice? All you have it there? Good.
So them say, alright, so the elder folks them say now. I often hear people say, don't fire stick it easy, they catch. Now, so them say, I hear this talk night and day. Don't fire stick it easy, they catch. Alright now, oh yeah, but if you treat your girl bad, all her life she's been sad. When you're gone, she'll be glad. She don't want you no more. Good that you're out the door. I say you're making a joke. Boy, you stick water soap. Oh, fire stick. It's easy to catch.
Yeah, so any questions you have, you can call 440-7377.
So them say.
Again, remember, the Royal Grenada Police Force versus the New York Police Department. Yeah, that football match is taking place at the Grenada National Stadium from 4 p.m. today. Also, remember our good friends up in St. David. They have their barbecue luncheon taking place today from 12 p.m. Price $10. And they got barbecue fish, barbecue pork, barbecue chicken with a roll and salad. And that's taking place when you check by the constituency office there. Nice. Yeah, you could check there and you'll get that. We have a caller online. Good morning.
Mr. Scott,
Morning, sir.
pleasant morning to you, sir.
Hey, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing extremely well. You know, once I'm in this island called Grenada, despite the fact of the challenges that we may face here, I still know that Grenada is one of the best places in this world to be. So I'm thankful that I am in that part of the world and I'm in that island. Now, Mr. Scott, Hard Talk will never get sued because the host and callers are all responsible people that only state the facts. Now, based on the program you had earlier on, I just want to congratulate the sanitation workers that take care of Mount Carmel, Tuileries, and the Munich area for the excellent job they are doing. I also must compliment the residents of that area for their cooperation for when it comes to the disposal of the trash. So, Mr. Scott, there are areas, what I could speak about, that is doing the right thing. Now, Mr. Scott, we had two unfortunate situations recently in the country. These incidents we reject completely in Grenada. But do you know some countries in our neighborhood would gladly embrace these incidents as progress? This just shows Grenada's steadfast progress as one of the safest places in the world. Now, my last point here. Mr. Scott, it has been said that teachers are the best minds in the country based on certification. So, when I listen to the speech given by Mr. Lyden Lewis on Wednesday, what that clearly tells me is that it was sanctioned by his membership, and the teachers are quite comfortable with Mr. Lyden Lewis' speech on that day. Now, listen. But, Mr. Scott, after listening to that speech, do you know, when I have analyzed the union stance in the present disagreement, I always thought that there was something else in the matter besides the gratuity and pension. So I want to congratulate Mr. Lyden Lewis, in Grenville we call him LL, for confirming that. So now we know it's a political move by the teachers' union to hamstring this government for political reasons. Mr. Scott? No, Mr. Scott? Yes. And yes, I apologize. Last thing, because I want people to see straight through me. Mr. Scott, I don't have no hate, no envy, no jealousy in my heart. No one have wronged me or hurt me to the extent for me to entertain such feelings. My brother, I wish no one ill will. I wish no one bad. And I celebrate everyone's success and achievement. I thank the Most High for the 50 plus years He have given me on the face of the earth and the opportunity to raise 3 beautiful, bright, brilliant, and intelligent children, and are surrounded by family, immediate and extended family that really care. Mr. Scott, to you and Mr. Roman, wherever he is, I trust you all will have a pleasant weekend.
Right. Thank you so very much, caller.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. 440-7377. That's the number for you to call and get on the inside. Good morning, Coco. Hope that you're having a wonderful morning this morning. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Zingo, how you doing, sir? Yeah, yes. Sometimes you just have to...
Lose me! Original Madman Zingo there! Charlie son and here on them out and me. Talking about my pride and integrity. He tried it for ball and I put it back. But they want me disqualified for that. I went on radio, I went on TV. And I gave this nation a public apology. Why don't you check some artist history? You have a lot of them who do worse things than me. They never pay no penalty. I never shoved me hand below children's dress. Oh no, oh no. I never tried to rob liquor children's chest. Oh no, oh no. I never offered no school children a job. Oh no, oh no. And halfway before they hold me hand in the lap. Oh no, oh no. I never ever involved in corruption. Oh no, oh no. I never licked myself with no drug baron. Oh no, oh no. I never tried to hold up no gas station. Oh no. And when him never calling the killing of any man. So leave Zingo alone. Lose me! Ah! Original Madman Zingo there! We tell him.
Yes, indeed. We say a good morning to our overseas listeners. Remember, you can call in 347-329-3101.
Go to Fly Liga room. I wonder why those guys will give me a chance. To fly Liga, who is a very high science. Ask Mano, just because I beat them in the semi. They do and say all those things to discredit me. But Casey, tell me what is the problem? They singing before me and I winning from before them. So listen this story. I never shoved me hand below children's dress. Oh no, oh no. I never tried to rob like a children's chest. Oh no, oh no. I never offered no school children a job. Oh no, oh no. And halfway before they hold me hand in the lap. Oh no, oh no. I never ever involved in corruption. Oh no, oh no. I never linked myself with no drug baron. Oh no, oh no. I never tried to hold up no gas station. Oh no, oh no. I mean him never calling the killing of any man. So leave Zingo alone. Ah!
Yeah, leave the man alone, eh? Nice.
Who do that? Who next? Ah! Look!
So we'll be giving you the traffic notice for tomorrow again.
So with all this drama in the nation, they never say I offer.
25 minutes after the hour of 11 o'clock. And folks, people have been speaking, I've been listening, and this always annoys me. When people do like Grenada is they align Grenada like if Grenada is one of the neighboring territories that is like in chaos and that kind of thing. And it's upsetting to me. It's upsetting to a lot of right-thinking Grenadians who know what is really going on here in Grenada. Because when you jump online and you say, what's going on in Grenada? What's going on in Grenada? A pile of murders. What pile of murders? Yes, we do send our condolences to the families of the deceased, those who have lost their lives, 2 individuals this week, 5 in total on the island of Grenada for the year. Yeah, in the state of Grenada for the year, 5. But when we look at what's going on in countries next door, when you look at what's going on in Trinidad, where sometimes they have 5 dying in a night, where you're going and you're finding now entire families just wiped out. On 2 occasions for the year so far in Trinidad, they've found families just wiped out. In one case was a murder-suicide, well, accused of murder-suicide, at least that's what they say. Yeah? Where they found a husband, a wife, and their child dead in a car. They've just had a situation like that this week again. Yeah? They have situations where they have drive-by shootings where 2 and 3 people die. Where by the time the weekend has ended, you're hearing all sort of figures of 7 and 8. You have how many murders in Barbados for the year so far? When you look at St. Lucia and St. Kitts, you look at those other islands, loads of murders. But you have people down here screaming, what's going on in Grenada? Yes, any murder is one too much. We always will say that. Any murder is one too much. But don't try to malign and bring down your country. Don't start to scream what's going on with the youth and so on. Some of you like to make things seem a lot more than they really are, man. Like you want
morning,
to take
Sheldon.
other places. Morning, my dear.
Good morning, Sheldon, sir.
Morning, my dear. How are you?
How you doing, darling?
I'm great.
And
How are
good
you?
morning to Devon.
Nice. Yeah,
Well,
he's
already,
listening.
yeah, I want to say good morning to Mr. Devon. And good morning to Jingo, as you see, Mr. Watt, his wife, Patricia in Canada. Good morning. Patricia have a family member that is burying today. A husband, father. So my sympathy out to Matthew and his family, and to all the Grenadians out there, Cathy and Cox, the Chase family in America, my daughter, my son. Good morning to every one of y'all. Grenada is beautiful today. The sun shining. People in the market up and down. The only thing is I can't walk about because I'm in a lot of pain. Anyhow, I want to say good morning to the Prime Minister. Also, Shalom. Give the Commissioner of Police, Mr. Martin, good morning to you, sir. And get better quick. Get better. And take your little rest. Because that work I know you have is a stressful work. So you relax yourself and take it easy. And good morning to all your ministers. But you know what I call this morning? These people that was on the march on Liberty, Mr. Scott. What are doing, Mr. David? What are doing the man for? These are the same people. These are the same people that going Peter David, that doing for the man do. Next time, Mr. David, next letter there, don't go in no meeting. You don't must go. You could write what you have to say and send it for somebody to say for you. Because these ungrateful people I have no apology for that. These are the same people that come in front of your door and bother you when they want a damn dollar, excuse me. When they want a dollar. And they stand up in St. David, booing you, waving all the next. If I'm going to mash up the TV with them, I'm a sorry I didn't day because I have given somebody. They're booing the man. What does man do on you? Are you booing him? Yet on a minister that didn't do nothing for the seven on you. Some of you all in Grenada didn't do nothing for you. But I do that, boo. And then tomorrow morning, Monday morning, now you didn't put him in the office. But he could find this guy, the very so when I'm talking to him. The same people that you buy chicken and fish and pay them what a bill like this, they go in St. David and booing you. Them ungrateful bitch and them excuse me. I saw mad and the man telling them people, vote them out. Well, when they vote just keep Michelle as the Prime Minister, who they put in there? Who they put in Dum Dum? Dum Dum never put there. Because you didn't get the big work, Mr. Light and Louis, you could show me I don't want nothing. Because you didn't get the work, you didn't want under NNP. So you're mad. You're mad. You want the PS work, or you want nothing to get. And we don't go in nowhere. We go vote him in back. I can't tell you that. I don't know already. You can't do me nothing. I so ungrateful in Grenada. Are you going Peter David of all person? What? Everybody does everything. And I tell you what, Charlie get the job. Have a good day, Mr. Scott.
Yes, indeed. Well, Kami, that's the thing, yeah? They do that. That's Labor Day, and they do that. Knowing the Honorable Peter David, he ain't even bother with that. He ain't even bother with that. Knowing Pedro, he ain't even bother with that. Yeah? But at the end of the day, when you listen to some of the presentations, as I played different parts of them yesterday, it's really unfortunate that people could so blatantly lie, because to have the president of the teachers union coming out and tell you a whole school collapse. Now imagine you had international people listening in, other people listening in, and he said it collapsed this week and people know children went back to school this week. So you're saying that a whole school collapsed when it was a water tank. Even this morning in Parliament, the minister was at pains to explain exactly what the situation was. The water tank collapsed. They looked at the building And they wanted the engineers to do a thorough investigation of the building itself, the buildings that comprise that institution, to ensure that there are no other deficiencies there that could endanger the children before you send them back out. The president of the Teachers Union go on radio and TV and saying that how the whole school collapsed. That's the sort of nonsense that happens from time to time with these individuals. I mean, yeah, I could nitpick and go to the fact that you don't know the difference between George Orwell and Charles Darwin. I could nitpick and go to that. Or at a point in time when he had to be speaking about teachers' issues, when he had so much positives to speak about, he decided to live in the negative. So much positive. He decided to live in the negative. He didn't want to talk about the millions that public workers, inclusive of teachers, got between 2013 and now. And we're not speaking about a normal salary, speaking about in addition to the salary. He didn't want to speak about that. And in fact, some of the teachers themselves seem to forget. Some who have benefited seem to forget. Then he tries to give the impression that the work to rule is working. The work to rule is a failure. Let's call it for what it is. It has been a failure. And he knows that. So when he tries to reel back in and say, well, we will call back in and they could go ahead and do the SBAs, that was after the fact. The SBAs were done already. So it's not you as union leader call and get anybody to come and do the SBAs. They were already done. But he wants to give the impression that he make it happen. Oh, yeah, good. That's that's just the way it goes from time to time with that individual, yeah. That's why his name is Lydon.
All the time for this me, because all the can kiss me, all the better miss me. Go me fans them, what this? And in the air all night, this year we come out to fight. They move with them, they can ride it with them treat me, so come on up like and sing. And in the air and light a fire, boy, boy, boy. And in the air gunshot and fire, put up, go, go, go. And in the air and strike a light a boy, 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 boy. And in the air and blaze it higher, put up, go, go, go. Swear them do me now, saying this so come on up. Tell them you ain't taking that. Them play me slow, slow and them cut me short.
4407377.
What? You saw them do me last day in the soca mona.
I hope when them who encouraging people to boo and jeer at people get a boo and jeer that they could take it.
They threat me so me come to talk. Policeman answer me, tell me why you blame me so when them.
Yeah, they say what goes around comes around.
Morning.
I hope they know that very well.
Good
Yes.
morning, Sheldon.
Morning.
Hello.
Quite fine.
Yeah, Sheldon. Teachers in general, in all government in the past, this government is where the teacher benefit the most and do the most for teachers. Right? You know, sometimes people want people to forget the good things and focus on the negative things. But I see this government, they did a lot and continue to do a lot for teachers. And they did the most for the teachers. Brother Sheldon, I want to say, presently the Chinese project at Busheju, the housing project, is on the way in the preliminary stage with the clean up the land. I want to say kudos to the government and Chinese for continuing development in housing for the people of Great Carriacou and Petermatic. Right? I want to see this government is a government. When they say they go do something, they keep a promise and they fulfill what they say they will do. You know, this government is a government, they say something and do the opposite. What they say they're going to do, they're going to do it. All right? I also kudos to the government and the Chinese for the housing project that started at Busheju and Shodi Island. So God bless you. Have a wonderful day. Okay.
Thank you very much. 4407377. That's 4407377.
You swear them to me. You swear them to me. I love the addy.
So if it's not one group of individuals who only want to speak about the negative, so you're going in Labor Day. In my mind, and I think in the concept of the people that came about with International Workers' Day, there was supposed to be two parts to the entire thing. One, in where workers celebrate the gains that they've been able to achieve. They celebrate the success of the various struggles in which they have engaged. Then, also to shine a light on the plight of workers who are yet still in the struggle. I thought that was the aim and objective of May Day, Labor Day, International Workers' Day. One, you celebrate what you have achieved, but you also take the time to focus a searchlight on that which you have yet to achieve. Yeah? So you don't expect to just hear negatives, but you see, because various individuals come with a political agenda. You are the president of the Public Workers Union, come screech, 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 hurt people's ears, screaming into a microphone. I'm sure she didn't have voice after that. Yeah? What is your main problem? The fact that you apply to cabinet for government to let you go and stay in the union office 24/7 so that you would be full-time in the union office but still receive a government salary? No. LL being paid out of the $800,000 that the Grenada Union of Teachers is receiving from the teachers of Grenada. LL is paid from that on a monthly basis while he holds the reins as president of the Grenada Union of Teachers. The teachers are paying him. Yeah? So in other words, when they had the issue last year in November, he wasn't affected. He wasn't affected. His finances were not affected. But now you, as the president of the Public Workers Union, you want to go and sit in the union office, same as LL is doing, to deal specifically with the union issues. But you want the government of Grenada to pay you? No. Your union is also getting close to $800,000 a year. The union should pay you because you refuse that. You vex. You want to vex it? You can't vex it nobody for that. Yeah? You can't vex it nobody for that.
Taking that. You see why them play me slow.
I missed your call. Whoever was calling there, you can call.
This me and me.
Mr. Crow, good morning.
What? You see what them do me last day?
Noriega, special good morning to you.
Me fancy that a week.
Hope you're having a wonderful one. Mommy George.
See what them play me slow.
You have that barbecue coming up. Where is that barbecue going to be taking place, huh? Yeah, Mommy George, let me know.
Everything was black and white. The screen was on the band. They could have still them had on every light. How come when time for me to sing? It seems like if I have a fight. The police play me just like if them don't know what is wrong from right.
I know the barbecue is coming up. I know you have this Saturday fish, pork, chicken, fish $20, pork $20, chicken $15. I know that's happening. Oh boy, yeah. I know you have the barbecue taking place, Mommy George.
I know why them.
So we know you have the fish 20, pork 20, chicken 15, rice and peas, vegetable noodles, garlic bread. So I know that's this Saturday, but where? Yeah, that's what I want to know. Is it in Montu? Or is it down by the Saigon block? Where is it taking place? Otherwise, no sugar mill roundabout. And we say a very special happy birthday to Katisha George. Her birthday is today. And we say an early happy birthday to Mrs. Marcella Campbell at the New National Party main office. Yeah, happy birthday in advance to you, Mrs. Marcella Campbell. Pinky, yeah, happy birthday. Cake and ice cream, cake and ice cream, I'm passing.
Tell them me ain't taking that. You see how them play me slow and them cut me short. Them diss me and me forget that. What? You see how them do me last say in the soca monarch. Me fancy that a wicked that. Me find something you know. You see how them play me slow and them cut me short.
Okay, so that by you, Mommy George. Okay, Miss Bernadette George. Hope everybody know where to find you. You might have to bring that by the road now. Yes, folks, sometimes we have to be careful of the image that we give our country. Trinidad had over 100 murders for the year so far. Jamaica over 100. Barbados has 8, I believe. Yeah, St. Vincent has 1. Strange enough, last year there was a different story. St. Vincent has 1, I think, for the year thus far. St. Lucia may have about 20. Yeah, St. Lucia may have around that. St. Kitts maybe have about 8 or so as well. So the thing is this, as long as there have been human beings, there have been murders. You read the Bible, in the Garden of Eden, what happened between Cain and Abel? As long as there have been human beings, there have been these activities. We wish we had none. We pray that we have none. We pray that all our people come to that sort of understanding to respect other people's lives and rights to opinion and rights to support whichever political organization they want to support or whichever union they want to support, or to just be who they are. We wish that all our people get to that sort of understanding. But until such a time, just remember that these things will from time to time happen. They're always shocking when they happen. They're always sad when they're happening, because you can't dial it back and say, I'm going and change it. You can't snap your fingers and go back in time and say, let's take that one again. When somebody dies, they're gone. That's it. They're gone. It have no coming back. Yeah, the next thing after that is the funeral. So there's no coming back. So we understand that and we empathize with that. But at the same token, don't try to make our country look like a lawless state. Don't try to make our country look like a lawless state. These things happen in every country, in some countries very close to us, much worse than what is going on here. Then they start to jump up. What's wrong with our young people? Only the biggest dummy in dumbland going to come with that. And you know why? Because when you look at what young people have been doing in our country, okay, so you may have 2 or 3 young people that have been involved in a negative activity. And we all take their pictures and we send it via WhatsApp to each other. We take it, we send it right around the world, not just Grenada here. Because people from Europe could send it back to you. We take it and we send it around the world. Nice? But when some young person here doing something positive, they had a little poultry farm and they're growing some chicken and they're selling that and so, and they're making some money, or they're doing some agriculture or so, or they're doing sewing like a daddy.
Morning, boy.
Morning.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You remember what we did talk about, how things going?
Let me talk about that off the program now, Bull. Certain things we're going to talk on the program, certain things we're going to talk off the program. Don't do me that. Don't try to put me in a corner by calling me on the program on certain things. You know I'm straightforward. Let me talk that off the program. You know how to find me.
All right, okay.
Nice. Yeah. I'm very straightforward. I ain't thinking on that. You want to talk to me on certain things? Let's talk that off the program. Nice. Yeah. So when a young person is doing something positive, when a young person is doing something that is beneficial to themselves, their family, and the country, instead of us taking that and send it via WhatsApp, how much WhatsApp you ever get with a young farmer? No, we ain't interested in that. But let a young man stab somebody. You're going to see he, the victim. You're going to see who is his girlfriend. You're going to see his mother, his father, everything about him. You know why? Because some of us thrive on negativity. But you just get WhatsApp with the young farmer. You just see the pigs that he grow. You see the pictures of the guy that a cow and different thing and the cows that he grow and so. Are you getting WhatsApps? Or are you sharing via Facebook and so on messages of people like Dali with her sewing? Yeah? Or like even AJ and Associates, those young people that are doing their mass ban and so. Are you sharing the information on them? Letting the world know that we have a lot of bright, talented, intelligent young people here in Grenada? Because the impression that a lot of us here in Grenada are giving to people outside of Grenada is that all Grenadian young people good for is drinking rum and fighting each other, you know. Because that's what we're sharing. And that's not the reality. That is not the reality. Yeah, I hope the audio is back normal now. I know some of you were complaining about it a while ago. Yeah, that is not the reality. The reality is that the vast majority of young people here in Grenada are doing positive things with their lives. The vast majority of the young people here in Grenada are positive young people. What do they want? They want to get a little house. They're fighting up because they want to build a little house. They want to own a piece of land. They want to build a little house. They want to buy a little vehicle so on a weekend if they feel to take a drive around the island, or they want to go to the Sulphur Spring in River Sally, or they want to go to Golden Falls, they could go up to Mount Horn and then hike and go up there. Or if they feel like going down to Grenada Beach with other members of their family, even if they're taking their mother and father or their grandparents down to the beach, they want to be able to do that. So they want to own a little vehicle. They want to own a little business so that they can earn money, and if they want to travel, they can travel, and that they can pay their bills on a monthly basis, and they could buy some food to eat, and they could buy some nice clothes to wear, and that sort of thing. Or that they can educate themselves. Whether it's farming they're doing and they want to educate themselves into new forms of farming, and so that's why they want to go when the opportunities come to go China. You see a lot of young people looking to go. So many young people looking for opportunities. We have positive young people here in Grenada. But the ones that we always take to try and make the superstars, the ones that we always want the outside world to see, are the negative ones. And that goes for those controlling the blogs online too, you know. That goes for those controlling the blogs online. And for those of us that take the stuff from the blogs online and take the stuff from the WhatsApp and so, and send it around to each other. We give the world the impression that that's the only type of young people that we have here in Grenada, because we don't put out the positive stories about the young people. Yeah? We have a caller. Good morning. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Okay, we seem to have lost that caller. 4407377. Yeah? We need to ensure that when we see a young person doing something, that we make a superstar out of them. Make some superstars out of them. Instead of always pushing this thing about the negatives. Make it look like if Grenada is the only country that you have a murder take place in, or the only country that you have a vehicular accident. Yes, you have a lot of vehicular accidents taking place, but you also have a lot of vehicles, increased number of vehicles in Grenada. Where when I was a teenager, we could have played cricket in the road in Grenada. We cannot even attempt to do that now. Where on a Sunday or on a public holiday, we could have played a game of cricket and probably get a whole 6 or 7 overs in or more before a vehicle pass. Right now, you can't even start to make a run up the bowl before a vehicle pass. That's how it is now. We have an increased number of vehicles, so you will have an increased number of accidents. Hello. And so, morning again.
Scotty,
hey, my dear.
You know what they're saying is so true. They just want to show the wall that to make the government here look bad. But there's a lot of young, positive young people that I know that do farming, and they come in and they want just from 70 tomatoes.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Yeah.
A lot of young people that is doing something positive, and you will not hear them. Some of them that they are radio in the morning talk about the young people that is positive. They just want to make the government look bad. But people on the outside world, Mr. Scott, they know better. They know better. The people in England and America and Canada and Europe and them other places, they know better than that. So they can't fool the people out there. It's not everybody that's dumb. Right? You have good and bad, but there's a lot of positive young people. I see. You have a lot in my area where I live in. I just look at them every morning, Mr. Scott, going to work. I will see on the ground and see some young, positive young men in Busheju, in Apil, in Rizan, every day. Because I live in that area. There's other young men that have the coat, and they net in Busheju there. You understand? Mm-hmm. They're not on the block. But you will not get negative people to put on Facebook or to put on Instagram. But look what these young people doing. They will send a picture, negative things because they don't like the government. I love my country, you know. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people that is just right and good. They understand like me. So what you're saying is so true. In the church. Because we have too much of bad-minded people in this country here. Mr. Scott, I'm not afraid.
Mm-hmm.
The Prime Minister helping some of them.
Cammy, for some
And
reason
they
your
want
voice
publicity.
your voice
Not
is going
King
down and
General,
up.
not the Prime Minister love what he's doing for our country and the poor people.
Cammy, for some reason your voice
I'm
is
not
going
putting
down. We're not hearing you clearly.
You're not hearing me?
Yeah, like you move away from the phone or so.
I say, there is so much of good things that the Prime Minister is doing for this country. You won't get this people to say, oh God, look at you. Because what?
Yes, ma'am.
Right now, if you think alive, get a drive up in Busheju and you will see. Take a drive up in Busheju and you want to see what's going on here. You will see what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
You want to see what is going on in Busheju. Big project, a big project. They're building houses now for people that are in need. Nobody knows about these things. You all must not do them things. Anyhow, you have a blessed weekend.
All right, my dear.
Have a blessed weekend.
And folks, that's what I'm getting at. There's so many young people. I've been hearing it for the last few months. Again, it's political in nature because some people just want the government look bad. So they want to make it look like, okay, the crime situation in Grenada out of control and the Royal Grenada Police Force can't deal with the issue. They just want to give that impression. Boy, I don't know why it's not getting through. Okay. Folks, 4407377. It's similarly again, like a lot of people been speaking about, oh, every year is like some blight. People drowning every time it's the Easter, somebody drowning. Common sense and reasoning would dictate that at that time of year, you have an increased number of people who are visiting beaches. Yeah? For instance, there are several beaches in St. David that if you go there now, nobody there. If you go there tomorrow, nobody there. You go there Sunday, nobody there. The whole week next week, you might find one person, two, every now and again you might see somebody go there who live close by. But those beaches are generally empty. But during the Easter time is when everybody there, so the probability of somebody drowning increases. We have a caller. Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Hello. You on the radio?
Yes, you're live.
Hallelujah.
Hey, no. Wrong program, brother. Not this one. You're the wrong program. Not here. Try another station. Yeah? Not here. I ain't tolerating that. Not here. So as I was saying, we have an increased number of people who are going to the beaches at that time of year. And due to that, the probability of someone drowning increases. It is unfortunate, and no matter how much lifeguards you place, no matter how many warnings you give to people, people still go ahead and carry out certain types of behaviors around that time that also contributes. You want to drink the most alcohol and then go and jump in the water. And sometimes on a beach that's unfamiliar. Yeah? You want to do that. A beach that's unfamiliar to you and you want to go and jump in the water. You don't know where's a deep part, where's a shallow part, you don't know. You want to jump on the water at that point in time. Yeah? You don't do that. You don't do those sort of things. But then people run about now and they say, oh, it's blight. So you want to frighten people now from going on the beach during Easter time. Some people, the first time they see a beach, a lot of the beaches I know, the first time I saw them is Easter time in the St. David area and other parts of the south of the island. Beaches that people don't really frequent. They're nice beaches. Yeah, nice beaches, but people don't really frequent them. Yeah? So it's simple things like that. But then you have people, because they're trying to push a simply political agenda, they take it, oh, the country blight. Look what happening. Some kind of weird thing happening. No weird thing in happening. Reason dictates and probability dictates that when you have more people in an area, the probability of something happening to a person increases. You have more people on the beaches, probability of somebody drowning increases. If you have one person, the probability is less. You have 1,000 persons, the probability of somebody drowning increases. You have 10,000 people, the probability increases even more. You have 5,000 vehicles on the island, the probability of a vehicle getting involved in an accident is less than if you have 50,000 vehicles on the island. The probability increases, and that's just common sense. No, Blossom. No, he ain't gonna do that one here. No way. No. Nah, not here. Nah. Wrong place. Wrong place. Yeah. But I'm saying to you that we have a lot of positive young people who are doing wonderful things. There are young people who go and they do their agriculture, leave the agriculture, go and do another job during the day, come back and do some agriculture again when they come home in the evening, you know. There are some young people doing 2 and 3 jobs. We don't talk about them. We don't promote them. We don't push and say these are positive young people. Those who are working as a security guard here but still going and do another job. We have a lot of positive people that we need to speak about and put that information out there. Yeah? We need to do that.
His life was like an open book, the pages old and worn, and it reached out to touch the lives of babies yet unborn. A shining light when all seemed dark, the hope for years to come, and then they killed the hope, they gunned it down. Right down, he was a martyr, a hero, nothing less, nothing more. A cause.
Folks, that's all the time we have for Hard Talk today. Yeah, it's just about 12 o'clock. I've got to shimmy on out of here. Flip it back to the various stations. My name is Sheldon Scott, and whatever you do, do it safe and secure. We want to be speaking to and with you and not about you, huh? So remember the Royal Grenada Police Force, they're out there at the Grenada National Stadium facing off against the New York Police Department. Wonderful football from 4 p.m. this afternoon. Royal Grenada Police Force said they're going to give them 12. To teach them how to play football. No soccer, football. Then tomorrow, remember the launch of Spice Mass. Mommy George also has a barbecue. And we also know that St. David's constituency, they have their barbecue starting right now, 12 o'clock. And just remember, no entry points tomorrow. I'll just give you that quickly before I leave. Old Fort Public Road from its junction with Lucas Street. Cemetery Hill with its junction with Church Street. The Ring Road from its junction with Mount Rush Public Road to the direction of the Humpback Bridge. Sendall Tunnel from 1 p.m. tomorrow. So that is for their VIPs and VVIPs, officials, etc. You're parking in the concrete area in front of the National Cricket Stadium. The normal area you park there to go to the VIP in the cricket stadium. The media and police officers, you're going to park in the area entering the stadium by gate 6. The general public will park in gate 6 in the vicinity of the cricket net area. So that's the normal area to the back there, towards Grand Lake area there, inside the stadium facility. The no parking zone will be on the Stadium Ring Road, Melville Street from the Fish Market to Cherry Hill, Queen's Park Road from its junction with the Green Bridge to the National Stadium, River Road from Purcell's Lumberyard to the roundabout, close to Lacqua Brothers Crematorium, Mount Rush Public Road from its junction with the Ring Road, National Stadium main entrance public way from Green Bridge, the main entrance to the National Stadium. All right, vending will be allowed on the seaside and the main public road along the Western Road, but no vending between along Queen's Park Road from the Green Bridge to the main entrance of the National Stadium. All right, or any other area in the vicinity of the National Stadium. And so those of you that are traveling along Melville Street tomorrow especially, you could expect some delays. Also, those of you that are traveling on certain other areas around, you would get a little bit of delays. All right? Nice. That's all the time we have for Hard Talk today and this week. We'll be back Monday with more Hard Talk for you. I am out of here.
The eyes of the world are on us more than ever. So let's take it to them. Saturday, May 4th, the Spice Mass Corporation launches Spice Mass 2019. The Caribbean's biggest summer festival. This year's launch starts with a roadshow from Ariza Copper to the National Stadium from 3 p.m. Bring out your last year's costume and join the parade. It's one big experience with a display of fancy mask, traditional mask, Moko Jumbi, and the most envied Jab Jab. The official opening is at the National Stadium, featuring your favorite soca artists and DJs, Calypso Monarch, Steel Pan champions, and presentations of the 2019 Carnival Queen contestants, plus displays of 2019 costumes, SMC show tickets, and other attractions to be won. Saturday, May 4th, the National Stadium, the launch of Spice Mass 2019. Bring out the entire family. Log on to SpiceMassGrenada.com for more.